What is going on, everybody? This is Bronco Juggalo, and it is Slashback Saturday. And today I've decided to do a movie that I've never seen before. For 70 slashers, I am doing a giallo film, Dario Argento's The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This is the Blue Underground DVD 2 special edition. Really happy to have this. Found it at a swap meet. Now, this is Dario Argento's directorial debut. It's a 1970 film, and it's done completely in Italian. And with this inaugural entry for Dario Argento, he really shows why he was going to become the master of this particular brand of Italian horror. Starring Tony Masanti as Sam and Susie Kendall as Julia, American writer in Italy witnesses a brutal assault, an attempted murder. Unable to help and suspected by the police, he is now being targeted by the killer. With this film, Dario Argento single-handedly invented the giallo. There were no films like it before. And there's some things that I want to talk about in that particular vein with this movie. Now, I had no cons for this movie. I myself, honestly, am very young when it comes to giallo films. I don't know a lot about them. I'm still learning. And I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt as much as I can. I can't say that it's going to be my favorite genre of horror, because it's not. A giallo is basically a detective story stylized slasher. Usually set in Italy. That's basically what a giallo is. Honestly, I think that a lot of the films in this genre are not as good as people make them out to be, at least as far as horror movie goes. Maybe as thrillers or detective stories, but that's just my opinion. Now, I do really respect the works of Dario Argento. I really do enjoy the movies I've watched of his so far, but there's still something about them that just doesn't quite catch me. But within these films, you can see the influence they've had, not only in Italian horror circles, but in American as well. Now, guys, before I get into these pros, there's going to be some slight and small spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie and you don't want any spoilers, you might want to check out here, just in case. The first pro that I wanted to talk about is the massive room-sized computers. Reminded me of the Batcave from, the 60s Batman. They do a rendering of what they think the killer looks like, and it comes out of this giant wall-sized computer. And it's on printed paper, and it's going dee-dee, 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 like the old style, printers. Very old style printers. And the drawing is made out of little ones, little dots and ones. That's all it's made out of. And I thought that was very interesting and very, very funny. It most definitely dates the film, but it also stands as a testament to that time period. I like that our killer uses different blades. In this movie, we see them use a dagger, an axe, a razor blade, and also a couple of other kind of daggers. A dirk, we get to see a dirk, and we get to see a almost Bowie-style knife. I've watched a few Argento films now, and I've noticed something about his camera work in all these films. He does these long, sweeping shots, and then he uses really tight zooms, and the camera never really stays still. He is always moving his camera with his actors. He doesn't do a lot of where the actors are moving, the camera's just at one angle. Just about every shot moves with the actor. I've noticed that about his films, and I think it's kind of interesting. I do enjoy that style of filming. Something else I've noticed, and here's where a minor spoiler comes in. Argento, in a lot of his films, uses red herrings, and in this case, it's no exception. I like the fact that he uses two. There's 2 points in time in this film where you think that you know who the killer is, but you don't. Personally, I figured out who the killer was from the beginning. I just didn't know how they were going to explain how it happened. This movie is most definitely a slasher film, and it definitely has a killer who has a bit of a sick, twisted sense of humor. There's a scene that they call the panty scene, I believe, or the panty it's a very infamous scene, especially since it was botched on one of the restorations. But there is some pretty brutal imagery here Now, a lot of it is cutaway, and a lot of it is left to the imagination, but overall, it's still done pretty well. The last thing that I want to talk about is I love that this is a slasher movie, but here's a minor spoiler. It's a slasher with a sidekick. Well before we had Scream, well before we had The Strangers, well before we had any other of these movies where there's a bunch of psychopaths and killers all running together in what's considered a slasher film, we had The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Dario Argento used basically what Scream does, but he did it very, very early on in the game. And I found it really funny because this person was completely psychotic. When you see them, they're just completely off the wall, off the chain. And I wonder how they got it together enough to get a sidekick, to use a sidekick. Still a very cool, a very interesting, and a very innovative way to go with the script. So big kudos to Dario Argento for writing it. Guys, last week's review, I felt I shortchanged you a little bit. I had a much more in-depth review set up, but things were just getting out of hand as far as my time schedule went, and I felt I was running out of time and I needed to get it done. So I just had it in my brain, a few things I wanted to say. I missed a few things I wanted to talk about. So I hope you'll forgive me for that, and I promise to do a little better coming up. Guys, this is Bronco Joe saying go and check out everybody else doing Slashback Saturday. And don't forget, we got Wild Eye Week coming up in a few weeks. Until next time, guys, peace.
Somebody should have told you I'm the wrong one. All fun and games until you see me with the shotgun. Homie, I'm the wrong one. The wrong